Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Well, in a reflection of their rapidly growing ties, India and Bangladesh on Thursday sealed 7 agreements to expand cooperation in diverse areas and restored a cross-border rail link which was in operation till 1965. The restoration of the Chilahati-Haldibari railway link and signing of the pacts providing for cooperation in areas of hydrocarbons, agriculture and textiles, among others, came at a virtual summit between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Bangladeshi counterpart, Sheikh Hasina. In his initial remarks, Prime Minister Modi said Bangladesh is a key pillar of India's Neighbourhood First policy and it has been a key priority for him to strengthen ties between the two countries. Meanwhile, in her statement, PM Hasina said that India is a true friend. The ties between India and Bangladesh have witnessed an upswing in the last few years. Both sides have scaled up trade and economic engagement besides implementing a number of connectivity and infrastructure projects. In this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the strengthening India-Bangladesh ties. Joining me on the program today are Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, former ambassador, Major General Ashwini Sivach, retired strategic analyst, and Sriram Chaulia, foreign affairs analyst. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Ambassador, I'd like to begin the program with you first. The Indo-Bangladesh relationship has seen new heights, and over the recent past, we've seen that the engagement has turned for the better and has indeed improved. What is the reason behind that?
I think the leadership is number one reason, and the fact that there has been a consistent consensus in India on improving relations with our neighbors, and Prime Minister Modi has moved it along and pushed it with the Neighbourhood First policy. Number two, I think, is the leadership in Bangladesh. Ever since Sheikh Hasina came to power in 2009, this is her third term as Prime Minister, and I think she has been very, very consistent in following up on all the items on the agenda, particularly connectivity, and the realization that connectivity is key to prosperity, key to development, and the key to getting people-to-people contact, key to transportation. As you know, that we've just had another fifth, I think, railway connectivity. Now, railways mean basically cheaper transport. You can transport, containers. And this is the first one in northern Bengal, where I think that Haldibari and Chilahati will be connected. So goods that are destined for the northern districts and the northern part can be sent via those rail links. So basically, and I think the other thing, of course, is that the economy of Bangladesh, which has done very well. And I think in the pre-COVID era, Bangladesh was the fastest growing economy in Asia, one of the fastest, certainly. So that, I think, has added to the impetus that the economic, impetus that has been given to the relationship is, I think, another major factor in improving the relationship.
Absolutely. The ambassador has spoken about how, from a leadership point of view and from an economic point of view, how the relationship has grown and how it is important and how it has matured as well. From a strategic point of view, General, what is the importance of Bangladesh for India and vice versa?
Frank, Bangladesh has a very historical relationship with us. It is economical, it's a political, it is geographical, it is religious, it is linguistic. So both the countries were together before 1947. So the fact is that as far as Bangladesh is concerned to India, it is not only very important to us as Neighbourhood First and Act East policy, also that it is on the coastline. And in case, from the security point of view, Bangladesh is very important to India. So as far as India and Bangladesh are concerned, the relationship are growing in last about 15 years since the time the Sheikh Hasina has come into power. There were 3-4 irritants which were there, which has been removed by her. One is the number of militant groups which were operating in Northeast were having a basis in Chittagong Hill Tract. And after she has taken over the charge, she made sure all camps of these militants and the extremists have closed, and majority of them either have surrendered or they have moved to Myanmar. The second thing which is very important is, remember that both the countries have fought together for the independence of Bangladesh in 1971. Mukti Bahini was trained solely by Indian Army, and also both of us fought together against the Pakistani for independence. So hence there is supposed to be more military-to-military relationship, which is very important. And now this is what we have realized: is joint exercise, joint training. A number of courses are being done by the Bangladeshi officer, Bangladeshi man in the School of Instruction in India, and vice versa. That is very important thing which happened. Third thing is, there are some irritants, especially about weapons and all, that Bangladesh has bought 2 submarines from China. It was not to the liking of India. Having said so, as on today, I suppose Bangladesh is going for number of weapons from India itself. And that is a very good beginning. They want to have a more military sort of a strategic tie with us. Now, as far as other issues is concerned, you see, connectivity, as the ambassador was telling, is very important. The Chittagong port has been made available to us for the transshipment of our goods to northeast states. Now, this cut down a lot of time as well as distance. So this is a very good beginning in this. My only take is we are slightly worried that Bangladesh is going also very close to China. That is not to our liking, and that we need to resolve. 2-3 things stand out in this. One is that as far as Bangladesh is concerned, it is a part of a Belt Road initiative of China, in which $24 billion has been invested by China for a number of projects, almost about 27 projects. The second thing which is there is that the formal defense pact is between China and Bangladesh. And third thing is that recently China has also given a duty-free, entry to 8,000 products. That is 97 products of Bangladesh. Now that is an important thing which we have to consider it. Also, China is the biggest trade partner to Bangladesh, and we are the only second one. And they have a $12 billion deficiency, whereas India has got $8 billion. So what I'm trying to convey is we have to be also very vigilant to the fact that the Bangladesh relationship is also growing very fast with China. So we have to make sure as to how do we do it, that the relationship are balanced between China and India. As far as Bangladesh is concerned, it is more tilted toward India in time to come.
Okay. I'll take up this particular aspect a little ahead in the program as well. But, Sriram Chaulia, let's focus on the virtual summit that took place between the prime ministers of both the countries on Thursday. And let's analyze that as well. And what were the key takeaways for you from that?
Well, I think, Frank, level of trust between the top leadership is very high. In fact, Prime Minister Modi's point was that from day one, when he took office in 2014, Bangladesh has been a major priority. And in fact, you'll remember that the land boundary dispute that India had with Bangladesh for more than 4 decades was resolved very quickly. Prime Minister Modi famously told Sheikh Hasina, "Aap mujh par bharosa rakhiye." And, he created the consensus within India, especially in the state of West Bengal, to make that happen. Unfortunately, the Teesta Waters Accord, the other big issue, transboundary river issue, has not yet been resolved due to some domestic considerations in our own state-level politics. But otherwise, we have been highly generous. We settled the maritime border also, and we conceded some space to Bangladesh. So we showed our strategic generosity. Big country, neighborhood first. Narendra Modi was very clear that where there is an international tribunal and it is awarding to Bangladesh, we concede. So I think that was taken in a very good spirit, because Bangladesh expects generosity from India. Everything from issuing of visas, like nitty-gritty stuff for travel, to all the way to settling of outstanding sovereignty disputes. So I think PM was mentioning also today in the summit that Bangladesh has emerged as a major coordinator for us in the SAARC framework. And there, as we know, the SAARC, unfortunately, due to the Pakistani intransigence, has not been really successful. But if you take that out, the SAARC -1, then Bangladesh is the driving force. And that BBIN, the Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal corridor that we have, and which we are now likely to develop further with these trans-border railway corridors that are coming up. If we can do the similar ones across the Himalayas with Bhutan and Nepal, then Bhutan, Bangladesh access to Chittagong port will become easier. These landlocked countries up north, they are looking for access to the Indian Ocean for their own trade. And if this news is good, not only bilaterally between Bangladesh and India, but for other SAARC member countries. I think prime ministers of both countries were talking about how this has become a model bilateral relationship. And I think that's something really worth cherishing. And in fact, it could be an example. I mean, people are saying now we have the similar one with Maldives as well. And these should be, the template on the basis of which mutual benefit and also generosity and I think a high level of trust at the political leadership level. This matters. The other thing that caught my mind was, Prime Minister saying that the Serum Institute, our medical diplomacy, our COVID vaccines will be given to Bangladesh on a high priority once these regulatory approvals are come through. And already the Serum Institute in Pune has promised 30 million doses to the partner in Bangladesh called Beximco. So I think this is going to be a huge game changer also, like we've discussed before, because Bangladesh is also being voted by Chinese and other firms because a big country, huge population, large number of people to buy for buying COVID vaccines. But we are going to possibly be the ultimate supporter of this public health initiative in Bangladesh. Textiles, there's an agreement. Textiles matter a lot for Bangladesh. So I think whatever matters for Bangladesh, we have been delivering. There was some irritant, some people in the right, in the fundamentalists in Bangladesh saying that India is becoming anti-Muslim after the CAA agitation and all. But frankly, Sheikh Hasina never bought into that. And I don't think that has ever interrupted the ties. And the point is that it still remains a very, very friendly border. One Sheikh Hasina advisor once said, Bangladesh and India are like one space with a border to manage. They're not two different countries. That's the level of integration we are seeing today. And that's why I'm saying it's something to cherish and build upon. If we can do this similarly with all the other smaller countries, we can leave aside Pakistan and move forward through regional integration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Couple of aspects to take forward with you, Ambassador. One, of course, is the China angle. And the second one, of course, is how do we see more integration in the region?
Let us firstly be realistic that with China's footprint growing, and China as a big power will try to do things that, and particularly at a time when our relations have reached, a very, very low level in the sense the trust has disappeared. So I think China will try to do it. And smaller countries generally tend to balance between bigger countries, a pair of bigger countries or three countries. So I think this is a natural phenomena in international relations, and one should not get, particularly upset about it. And I think this is going to happen. What we have to do is to manage it in the sense that Bangladesh must realize that there are limits to cooperation with China, particularly when it comes to India's national security. And I think that is well realized. And I think those understandings have been reached already with Bangladesh. You will notice that the defense minister of China, who was visiting Nepal and then visited Pakistan, was also supposed to visit Bangladesh. But it was suddenly cancelled. So there are some things that the Chinese wanted and Bangladesh was not willing to give with an eye towards India. I think one can deduce this from this kind of cancellation. So I think what is required, of course, economic side, Bangladesh has made it very clear that they are going to become part of BRI, and they expect, and they have said, Sheikh Hasina has also said, that we regard both China and India as our development partners. But she also added a caveat there, saying that our relations with India is far more organic. And I think what she meant was that the neighborly relations that we have with Bangladesh, its history, its civilizational context, all those things matter after all. And I think India's soft power in Bangladesh is far more than that of China. And China can never get that kind of soft power. Bangladeshis form the largest number of foreign tourists that come to India for medical treatment, for education, for family reunions, for any number of things. So I think what we are looking at is a relationship that is beyond simply two foreign countries interacting with each other. There is sentiment, there is emotion, there are lots of things in this relationship. It's like a family, really. And I think we also quarrel from time to time. And we have some issues, but most of the major ones, sovereignty related, have been resolved. Sharing of river waters is a complicated and a complex issue. It is not that simple that there is X amount of water and Y amount has to go to Bangladesh. Don't forget the demography has changed hugely. There is impact of climate change on the water. There are hydro, although run of the river, hydro power sort of on many of these rivers. Then there is, of course, finally, and the most important part of the water sharing is that agricultural patterns have changed on both sides. There is water incentive, crops like rice that are being grown in very, very large quantities on both sides of the border. This is sucking up so much of water. And of course, the other reasons, glaciers are melting. Then, see, the problem with water, and I must say this again, is that there is management issues involved. We have so much of water in the non-lean season. We have lean season and non-lean season. January to May is regarded as the lean season. In the non-lean seasons, we have so much of water that 1/3 of Bangladesh is flooded, and so are parts of India. So I think what do we do with this excess water is one of the problems. In other words, can we store it for use during the lean season? So anyway, it's a complex issue, and we'll have to both sit down, do it together, perhaps in a manner also involve Bhutan and Nepal, who also share some of these waters. So I think this is a long-term issue and cannot be sorted out within. And there is, of course, internal politics in India, which prevents certain things from happening.
Absolutely. Let's focus on another aspect. General, you raised it in your initial remarks as well. Sriram Chaulia also spoke about it. This issue of extremists in Bangladesh, it has been addressed, of course, by Sheikh Hasina, and she has dealt with extremists with an iron hand. But is it something that some of our troublesome northern neighbors like China and Pakistan can use against us? And is that something that we should be wary of?
Absolutely correct, Frank. No doubt about it. After Sheikh Hasina has come in power, especially after 2009, she has made a tremendous difference. That's, all those centuries which were given to the militant group operating from northeast, especially NSC and Kaplang and NSC and IM and Ulfa were closed for good. And the second thing which is very important as far as Bangladesh is concerned, this Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh, which was the one which was involved in atrocities, rape and murder, along with the Pakistan army in 1971 war. Majority of these chaps were executed by Sheikh Hasina, which was not liking to the Pakistan. But they were executed, and now what is happening is that Jamaat-e-Islami, whatever the base it is there, the ISI is trying to woo them and trying to have a foothold in Bangladesh. In case the ISI has a foothold in Bangladesh, that is against the security of India, and from there they can operate not only in the northeast of India, in the rest of the part of India also. Therefore, that is a cause of concern as far as India is concerned. The third thing is Rohingyas. You remember that more than 10 lakh Rohingyas have come from Myanmar and settled down in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is looking after them. India is trying to help them out as much as possible in terms of goods as well as monetary help. But and we are also constructing now, they're building in Rakhine province once they have to go back. The point is, the longer the Rohingya stays in Bangladesh, they are also a security risk. The reason is because they are a vulnerable population which can be radicalized by the ISI and can be utilized against India. And there have been instances where Rohingyas are trying to be pushed inside India, but they have not been successful so far. So the Rohingya issue must be resolved at the earliest, and India must help Bangladesh in terms of getting this resolved through Myanmar, because they need to go back to Rakhine. So that is another thing which is very important between India and Bangladesh. Third thing is the Chittagong port. You remember that earlier there was information and an input to some suggest that Chittagong port has been by and large also given to Chinese, and Chinese are making use of it. And we were very sensitive to that, because China is trying its best to encircle India by having all these ports. Remember that in Kuakapu, that is in Myanmar, it has already got a base. Then Chittagong in Sri Lanka, Hambantota, Chittagong in Bangladesh, Hambantota in Sri Lanka, and then Maldives, and then Djibouti, and then Gwadar. This is where it was encircled. But Bangladesh is now made it very clear that they are not giving any portion of any port to China for any military use. It is only commercial use. So that is another important issue. Third thing is that the submarines which were taken by Bangladesh from China, now we want that most of the majority of the defense equipment must be taken from India. We are capable of giving them. You know, the guns which are there, we can also give them now BrahMos guns. We can also make ship for them, which we have already told to Bangladesh. The India can make an indigenous ship and can give to Bangladesh to their requirement. So this is also being now understood. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan of late is trying to move Bangladesh for anti-India sentiment. At the same time, Pakistan ISI is trying to get a foothold in Bangladesh so that it can spread the militancy in Northeast along with the China. So that is a sort of a concern for us. But overall, what is happening is that the present government, the present administration of Bangladesh is very, very close to India. They are now addressing all the security issues. And in fact, they have said that all those amicable elements which are within India or which are inimical to Bangladesh must be handed over, which have already been given. So to me, it looks like that in future, the relationship are going to grow up. Military relation has to grow up much more than what it is. Joint exercise, Air Force, Navy, Army, and also more officers on the either side should join the training as well as the school of instruction, so that the bonhomie, which was once upon there in 1971 and thereafter, must come back again.
Okay. All right. Sriram Chaulia, there's no doubt that Indo-Bangladesh ties are in a special place, have scaled new heights. What do we need to work on to ensure that we scale newer, even newer heights?
Well, I think, Frank, definitely we need to open our markets more to Bangladeshi products. Already, Bangladesh is a top trading partner for us within SAARC. And we need to support their economic recovery from the corona pandemic and the shutdowns and all these. The entire 2020 has been pretty much a washout for them as much as for us. So I think post-pandemic recovery, in fact, the Ministry of External Affairs was saying that today's the virtual summit is meant to chart out a roadmap for bilateral ties in the post-COVID world. So I think that should be a top priority. We should continue to show our generosity on that front. The other is, Sheikh Hasina needs to be strengthened, but we must also keep our, ties open to all other political elements in Bangladesh. Because, Sheikh Hasina, there's a criticism that she's become more authoritarian lately and less open to dissent or alternative viewpoints. So those kind of problems, we need to coordinate better and ensure that there is a legal movement of people. There's a trans-border rail, road, inland water transit. There's so many connectivity projects we're doing, but we should coordinate better in terms of weeding out unwanted elements who may misuse the relative openness of the borders to carry out terrorist attacks inside India. That is a real fear. So one thing about China, Frank, and that's something also we must work on. China wanted to invest heavily in the Sonadia deep water port in Bangladesh, and they were promising billions and all that. but now Bangladesh cancelled it. Sheikh Hasina has been very crafty. So although she is part of BRI and is accepting Chinese funds, she's always tried to balance it out. And now the Bangladesh government says that they'll go ahead with a Japan-supported, Japan-financed Matabari port, deep seaport closer to the old Sonadia location. Now that is something that's very interesting for us because Japan is also very big player now in the infrastructure development of India's northeast. So in terms of our Act East policy, teaming up with Japan will bring a lot of dividends for a country like Bangladesh. Bangladesh is still classified as a LDC, least developed country, and it will take at least 4 or 5 more years of rapid growth. It's been doing very impressively. So for it to reach the middle income category, it will need a lot of help from outside players. And while India may not be financially, we don't have as much deep pockets, Japan can help. And Japan and India are part of the Asia-Africa growth corridor, which is supposed to encompass Bangladesh.
Right.
So these are the things. So the Chinese have BRI, but if we really develop these other alternative connectivity projects, especially in partnership with Japan, the Bangladesh will be very happy because Bangladesh wants alternatives, and they say it openly. They're not even subtle about it. The Chinese are, coming down with lots of checkbooks to open and to write and throw at their faces. But Sheikh Hasina knows her sovereignty, the democracy, the very identity of Bangladesh as a secular and moderate country hinges on push and keeping the Sino-Pakistan axis away, because otherwise she herself could be toppled. So I think she needs India, but she needs other players. So we must engage even with the US now. Mike Pompeo visited Bangladesh and India supported it. So under Joe Biden administration, so let us bring in Japan and US and have a trilateral engagement to shore up Bangladesh in all possible ways, especially for recovery. And then you will see that, the relationship is stable. The radicals, the far right Islamists and all will keep on spewing venom against India, but they will be neutralized.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it on this edition of The Big Picture. But what's coming out of this discussion is that the Indo-Bangladesh relationship is in a special place and has scaled new heights. And leadership from both countries have been serious about improving the ties and also ensuring that they put the differences aside. Issues in the past have been amicably settled, which is showing results now. Ours is a historic geographical, economic and strategic partnership. We are like one big family and we quarrel sometimes but can't do without each other. Open up the Indian markets for Bangladesh and continue to be generous. And what we need to do is tie up with like-minded countries like Japan and the United States and ensure that we see true development of Bangladesh. With that, it's a wrap. See you again next time.